the 17. Fields. And it's intercepted at the goal line. Picked up by J.C. Jackson. There he goes, left side. 30. 10. And he brings this one back. It's a pick six and a Charger TD.
All right. Hey, GOI fans. Sorry about that. Just taking some notes here, putting a few asterisks by Peter's championships here. Thanks, Matt, for that discussion yesterday, which, boggled my mind a little bit because I'm up at early on the East Coast, 7 a.m. That must have been about 5 a.m. Pacific time. So you were fired up, or either that or you stayed up all night or had some tequila or something, man. So, but congrats to Peter winning is this Super Bowl number 5, John? Is that right?
I think he's on Cinco. Yeah.
Wow, that's halfway to Ray already, and that's big. That's the second most championships in the league. So congrats, Peter, on that victory. Again, it was just no easy ride getting there, and you had to do it the hard way. Start off as the 7 seed and work your way all the way there. So you did it. Congratulations. And Kobe too. That was his first Super Bowl. So I was real happy to see that he made it through. Obviously he's built a powerhouse of a team. I even made a trade with him and got to see ETN kind of do some damage, and it's good to see my boys still rolling on the field. So congrats to both you guys and GOI for 22 seasons now. This is getting into, is that right, or 24? Let me go to the thing here. Season 23. So 22 complete seasons now that we've done in GOI. And, just want to congratulate everybody for sticking with us, believing in us. We're not perfect. We do the best we can of trying to create a league that's fair as possible. And, sometimes we mess up and we gotta do a better job. And so, we appreciate people bringing it to our attention where some things are lacking, and we're going to make those adjustments. I think as a commission team yesterday, we decided to kind of wait till Madden 24 comes out to finalize everything. Pretty much the damage has been done if you've been signing your players to 7-year contracts at this point. And so really, not much we can do about that other than clean up the wording. And, there's some rumors that Madden 24 is going to have a little bit better contract structuring. And so we're kind of waiting to see what that entails before we update on that portion of it. But needless to say, changes are coming. It's on our agenda, and we'll make the proper adjustments going into next edition for sure. John, any news and notes on your end?
I think you covered a lot of it, to be honest. I think, like you said, we're at the end of the edition, so there's not a lot of point. And that was the problem in this particular rendition of Madden. We didn't have good visibility to the contracts. And, with the new structure where the players had a chance to, reject your offer, unless you came strong, but we got some things in the works, but we don't want to put anything out there until we see what Madden 24 is going to look like. And, they're going to start dropping in the not too distant future with, the first beta. So, but betas don't always have this stuff in there. So hopefully, we'll have enough tools to really make it a level playing field going forward. So, but I think what do we count? Like there was over 60 players in the league that had really long contracts. So this wasn't a one team thing. And in fact, some of the teams that were upset about the 7-year deals had a plethora of guys on 6-year deals that were not necessarily people in the real life we put on a 6-year deal. So, I think across the board, it probably evened itself out a little bit. So we'll just have to settle it on the field.
Cool. Well, one of the things that got my attention, John, last season was just how dominant the AFC was. So I added to my stats that I keep track of a conference stat. So basically AFC, how many wins they got, how many losses as an AFC got, and then obviously for the NFC, how many wins and losses they tallied for the season as well. Unfortunately, my stats are a little incomplete in this area just because when somebody new comes in and takes over, let's just say the Steelers, for example, I don't I kind of, on my old stats, I delete the old Steelers, move him to the old user category, and then have the new Steelers, and then that way it helps me transition for the year. So I'm probably gonna have to update how I do that stat keeping, probably more like how baseball does it when somebody comes in and pinch hits for somebody. Their stats are still on the line, but then right under it come a new stat for whoever pinch hit for them. So I'm probably gonna have to change how I do that. But thankfully last season we didn't have any user changes. So the reason this got my attention, John, is because the 10th seed in the AFC for the playoff race was the Baltimore Ravens, and they were 9-8. The 10th seed in the NFC playoff race was 5-12, and that was the Atlanta Falcons. So, John, you want to take a guess at how many wins the AFC had compared to the NFC?
Well, I'm stuck here though. So what you're saying is if I was in the NFC, I would have been in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I gotta go to the NFC.
You would have been on the playoff race.
Well,
right?
in the AFC right now, I'm booking vacations in like October. So
you did put up the most wins you've ever had, which was 6. You went 6-11 last season. So you would have been on the playoff race board in the NFC. It still took 9-8 to get into the playoffs in the NFC. It was 10-7 in the AFC. However, there were 3 teams that were 10-7, and after the Saints had a 9-8 record, the eighth seed that got bumped out was 7-10. So it just kind of got my attention to kind of put that together to just kind of see. And as a AFC, the AFC won 158 games, lost 113. That's 58% of the games. The NFC was 122 and 149. So that gave you the other 42% there of the wins and losses. So, however, obviously the NFC had Ray, which was like 16-1, I believe, because of their sim, and then he lost in the playoff first round, which.
Yeah, he was 16-1.
Yeah, so overall, they had the strongest player in the league per se. That was 16-1. Of course, the Patriots were 15-2. Lathan's Patriots, who also lost in his first game in the playoffs. And I think the playoffs were just on a weird timing. It was at Memorial Day weekend. I know I was out of town doing a bunch of family stuff, so it kind of, took my mojo away from a couple wins that I had, and I ended up playing like garbage in the AFC, championship game. But
and this isn't a shot at anybody, because I actually like Latham. He's very involved in our chat, and he always has entertaining games. But isn't he the Cowboys of GOI? Like, he hasn't won a playoff game. Is that right? He dominates all season. So we're gonna have to get him some voodoo or something to get that knocked out, because I think I saw somebody give him a hard time about he hasn't won a playoff game yet, which is surprising.
Yeah, him and his lover Riley, they both haven't won a playoff game. I was giving them hell in the chat yesterday because they keep going back and forth about Judge and everything else. So I said, you lovebirds need to get a room over here. Just clouding up the chat with all this noise. So Riley hasn't won a playoff game either here, and neither is Lathan. So Riley always keeps that stat right on his hip ready to go whenever he needs to dig one into Lathan and bring him back down to earth. So
using that logic, all 3 of us are tied, because I haven't won one either.
Yeah.
In fact, actually, I'm probably better than them because I've never been in the playoffs, so I have a perfect record.
Yeah.
They're behind.
Yeah, and so I got all those stats kind of updated. Let me see that anything else jumped off at the so Peter is 13-1 in the playoffs this year. That stat jumped out at me. I was the one lost for that first season. I won the Super Bowl this edition. So, but 13-1, and again, that's a stat that we really haven't seen since Ray in his dominant years. And Ray said he's not getting married anymore, and I don't know about having more kids, but he's definitely. I knew it, man. I knew that was going to happen.
We called it. We said, you get married, have babies, life's going to change.
Yeah. Yep. I'm playing the long game, baby. I know how this works. Let's see here. So that's probably the most impressive stat, that to have that else that jumped off when I was tallying everything yesterday. And like I said, I'll do a better job of keeping track of, standings and stuff like that. Historically, it's just how I was doing it before, and I just never carried forward because I never kept that stat before. So now I see kind of where my loophole in my stat keeping is, and I'll make that adjustment. Which, by the way, this is not like an easy task, right? It's an Excel sheet. I got to plug in all these formulas, make it work, and probably that's more Connor's cup of tea than mine, but somehow that's my job. So, so that's kind of one of the things here. Anything else from last season jump out at you, John?
It was entertaining during the playoffs. I mean, we had a lot of upsets along the way, or surprises. Having Ray fall to Green Bay, that was pretty surprising. And having Connor, I think, right, he fell to Kobe.
Yeah.
That was, I mean, Kobe can win on any given day, but historically, Kobe implodes in the playoffs, and that was an opponent that I expected him to implode by. So he, just really, especially in the NFC side, I don't think a lot of people probably had that, what do you call it? If you were putting out your bets for who was going to make it to the Super Bowl, I don't think many people had that matchup going in. Even for the NFC playoff game, nobody would have probably called Packers Seahawks. So that was pretty good, pretty different. So, and then, unfortunately on the AFC side, I think that the vast majority of the league was pulling for the Jags. Just, what everybody roots for David to kill Goliath, but Goliath just keeps killing people. So,
yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, I think my summary is in the playoffs, you just gotta, trying to have a perfect game. And, I got a little carried away and just was rusty, and I didn't read stuff right, and just was what it was. I don't know. It just happens sometimes. Everybody's has games like that, and you just got to kind of take a deep breath and suck it up and say, got to get them next year. So
and somewhere along the way, Peter learned, or not, I shouldn't say learn, but Peter's offense blossomed right at the right time. Because he was winning with defense, and the next thing you know, he's throwing up 40 points on people. So, kudos to him.
Yeah, and I'm happy I beat the Colts. He was Bailey had a fantastic year, beat me twice in the regular season. So, I felt good to get a win in the playoffs on him for at least to end the season, because he picked up he won the Aaron Donald sweepstakes here in the free agency, which. Man, what's going on with the Rams, man? They're trading away Ramsey. They're getting rid of Donald. I mean,
right.
It's cap space yesterday. He's got like 120 million cap space or something like that. Oh my God, man.
Crazy.
Woo. So, but maybe Brandon thought he was, done because he's moving and he's back now. So I don't know, man, but wild, man, absolutely wild. In fact, I looked at the Rams roster. It looks kind of like a high school squad, 70 quarterback and 70 wide receivers. I'm like, wow, man, you're really gonna be
it'll be fun.
Win anything next year. It's you feel good about that because
right.
You're running out of high school squad against NFL teams here. So
at least a practice squad.
Yep. And let's see here. So what did we want to say, John? Like who we thought maybe some surprises were in the playoff for this edition?
Yeah, well, I guess you can do your hot take right now. We're going into the last season, so pretty much everybody's in the win now mode. So let's make a prediction on who do we think is going to be in the, what do we say this was, 23?
Yeah, season 23.
23 and a half. My lost season is in there somewhere, but who are we going to see in the Super Bowl, you think, this year?
Honestly, for me, I'm going to go with Bailey. He's just, man, I don't know what it was. Every time I played him last season, especially the second time, I really focused in on trying to stop him, and I could not stop him to save my life. So I'm going to go Bailey for the AFC. Just, I think he's playing real well, and he's gonna, keep playing well. Obviously now with Aaron Donald on his side, and oh gosh, I got to go with Ray. Coming back, after his honeymoon, getting things back in order, he'll get it figured out by the end of next season. So I'm going to go with Ray and Bailey.
Those are good picks. I can't do Bailey though, because he bailed on the AFC East with me, so I can't do that. So I'm still hurt that he left me. I think I still got to go with Peter until somebody stops him. And Peter, I don't think has anything different going on in his life right now. And the more he says he doesn't care, the more he wins. On the flip side, though, I was gonna say Ray, but Ray still has summer ball. He's coming off the wedding thing, the baby thing. So I think we haven't seen, Connor in a while. And Connor's life is kind of, he doesn't have anything crazy going on during the summer. So that's going to be my pick, is Peter is going to play Connor in the Super Bowl, and Peter's going to break Connor's heart.
Yeah. It could happen. I don't know. Connor made some crazy trades already. He traded away Micah Parsons, and I forget who else, but I don't know, coming into this season, giving up some of those big names. I don't know. I don't doubt Connor in any sense either. So it could happen. So I guess my question for you, John, if Ray does not win the Super Bowl this next season, he was shut out for the addition. So I guess you're saying that there's no chance that Ray's going to win the Super Bowl next season. So
that's definitely a motivating factor. But I know he does softball, and you and I both been there, and the marriage thing is happening as we're recording it right now. But there's still a lot of stuff going on and a lot of changes. And you and I both know there's how many jokes are on the internet from comedians about what happens when you put that ring on the woman's finger. Things change. So he's going to go through a period of adjustment, so I don't, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised. You're never surprised if you see you, Peter, Ray, Connor, there's a handful of other guys that would never shock you to see them in the Super Bowl. But Connor hasn't made it in a hot second. He had been in contention for a while. And Connor, there's a method to his madness. He gives away Micah Parsons. Whatever he's doing, I'll be honest, it's either going to work out fantastically for him, or we're going to spend the last 8 weeks of the season having him talk about how much of a disaster it was, but it's going to go one way or the other in an extreme fashion.
So put a percentage on it. What are the chances Ray gets shut out for the addition here? We got one last season to go. Ray's got to win it all to have at least one Super Bowl in the addition. That's never happened since Ray's been in the league before. So what do you think are the odds if you were
if you say percentage, I'm never gonna count my guy out. I mean, he's obviously, a superstar, but I'd say right now, 49% chance that he gets shut, that he could get shut out. So almost 50-50, but I'll give him the slight edge. But as you've said 100 times during the show, we have a very competitive group. So it isn't like the old days where you could put the game down and come back 2 weeks later and do what you did 2 weeks ago and everything's going to work out fine. You got to put a little time in it. And that's the only thing, is I just don't know if he has the time or the desire in the last season to try to figure out how to beat some of these competitors.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, John, once I got my fourth loss and I knew I wasn't going to win the division because Bailey had already beat me twice now, I kind of had to kick it into playoff mode in like week 12 and just go to my playoff strategy to just get in the playoffs last season. So, it's definitely not, we got a lot of good users. They adapt, they adjust. I've seen them adjust mid-game to what I've done on a previous route, jump it, I'm like, holy smokes, that's wild. You see one play one time and you jump it the next time you see that formation. So it's wild, so yeah. Okay, I just wanted to point that out to you, that if Ray does not win this final season here, if this is our final season, which we'll hold the crowd after this to see motivations of sorts after this season, but yeah, if he does not win, then he gets shut out for this edition, which would be the first time
Now,
that happened.
my hot take on that though is if Ray does get shut out, he's gonna be probably unstoppable next in Madden 24. He won't take that laying down. So the rest of you top tier teams are gonna have your hands full next year if that happens.
Yep. So be on the lookout. So that totally can happen. And let's do a hot take the other way. Who's a team that you felt just did okay? Maybe they didn't make the playoffs this year that you think is, going to make the jump this season? One from each conference, one in the AFC, one in the NFC.
Somebody that did okay, but I think is gonna do a lot better next season.
Let's say they didn't make the playoffs this year. Who do you think that they're going to make the playoffs this year?
All right, for the AFC, I'm just going on my first look, right? First look, as I say, I think the Raiders. I think he played pretty well. He came in the middle of the season, I believe, or towards the end. And he had some offense, if my memory serves me correct. I do believe. So I think he'll figure it out. He just, he was playing everybody for the first time. So I would not be surprised if the Raiders, and that's probably the one division that it was, nobody dominated it.
Okay, so my pick from the AFC, I'm going to keep in my own division and go the Texans. I ended his playoff in week 17 bid to get in. But man, he played great last year, and he's got that little speedster Romeo wide receiver dude that just, 99 speed and cooks it. So, I'm going to go with the Texans. They were 10-7, but he was a team. Let's see here. Texans came in season 20, came back because he was with us before, but he came in this edition in season 20. He went 4-13 in season 20 and 21. He went 5-12. And then last season he went 10-7 with just missing the playoffs. So I'm going to go with the Texans and the AFC. Who's your NFC team?
I want to go to the NFC West because I think Kobe's going to have a hangover from this season. But we just talked about the Rams are, they're basically a practice squad, right? And then, I'd love to see Jake or Donnell make it, but I think you got to go. Emmanuel has been kind of quiet, and we know he can play. So I got to think the Bucks are probably the team that can maybe make a move and jump up there. A couple more wins would have put him in. So that's not a big stretch for him.
Yeah, that's a big pick. He was on my list as well. So I'll go with the other one that's been kind of quiet this edition that I feel has the power. In fact, he beat Ray already as well this edition as the Falcons. So I'm going to go T-Main, Trumaine. He's obviously, to me, he's always been a player that's in every game, just for whatever reason. Maybe, he just hadn't had the roster and started with the Falcons and was trying to do some things. So I'm going to go with him making some noise. I don't think he'll win the division from the Panthers, but I do think he's, good enough of a player to, get in the playoffs. So I'll stick with the Falcons. The Bucks were the other team I wanted to mention in this as well, to me. Although, honestly, Kevin was 4-12 with that, whatever he has, 350-pound quarterback horse.
I thought about him, but that's a big, I'm not sure what's going to change season over season for him to have 8 more wins, Well,
because he was like 15-2 in season
right
21. So the fact that he dropped all the way to 4-12, and maybe we're just saying it's because of the quarterback, which it could be, I don't know. But that was a shocking drop. You don't normally see a drop off quite like that, usually from somebody that can put together a 15-2 season. But he's somebody that could be dangerous as well. So yeah, I think season 23, we're ready for it. Draft is tonight at 9 p.m. So set your draft boards if you can't make it. Don, close us out with some notes and get her moving.
All right. Well, again, it's going to be a big night tonight, final draft of this edition. So make sure you pick the guys that you want and that can jump in and make a difference for you. And, this is kind of a fun time because it's the summertime. So we're probably going to slow pedal it a little bit more. So just enjoy it, wear it out, and then we all get a break and we'll come back and do it all over again. So Appreciate everybody. Thanks. Have a great rest of your week.
Happy drafting.